You know what I just realized? It's ARAK-21, but if you turn the 21 around, it's an I and an S.
Through generations of contention in the treacherous conditions of Arrakis over the drug melange or spice, the Fremen have come to prefer one weapons platform above all. They call it the Faxon al-Gaib.
Nissan al-Gaib! The time is finally here. You've been very patient. We are going to talk about the Faxon ARAK-21 or ARAK-21. This thing was introduced back in 2013 at SHOT Show. It was supposed to be a marriage, as the name implies, between the AR and AK platforms into one futuristic platform. But here we are over a decade later, and it hasn't really taken off. In fact, it's kind of reached unicorn status. But I noticed that Faxon was starting to do more marketing lately, putting out the strengths of the platform. There's even been discussions of a possible Gen 2 update, and it looks like more are coming into stock. So is this thing worth your time, or did it fail to unite the two great houses, House Stoner and House Kalashnikov? Well, I would argue that it's one of the best AR-AK hybrids on the market yet, and that the other ones are seriously missing the point. So what happened? Well, before we get into that, we should probably figure out why you'd want an AR-AK hybrid in the first place. And before we get into that, let's talk about sponsors. This episode is brought to you by XR USA, maker of fine polymer bits out of Arizona. They make lightweight, affordable, and fun to shoot polymer bits. They're a great company. They've supported me for a while, and I love what they do, and they like what I do. So make sure to swing over to xrusa.com. Tell them 12 Spies sent you. Ammo was provided by Global Ordnance. I shot primarily ADI match grade, 55 grain, and 69 grain Sierra Match King. This is great ammunition. It ran phenomenally through the gun, and it's available at globalordnance.com. Make sure to use code 12 Spies for free shipping, and I will actually deliver the ammo to your door, just in a very clever disguise. But big thanks to them for providing ammo. And last but not least, as you know, I do some work for Reap Weaponries, which will turn your AR into a bullpup. It's a very fun 50-state legal option to have more fun with your platform. Give it a futuristic twist with a trigger relocation kit, and I think they have an incredible sci-fi vibe while also being very practical. In fact, these kits have a phenomenal trigger. So if you were previously turned off to bullpups, and one of the main reasons why you might have been was because of the poor trigger feel, make sure to give Reap Weaponries a try and use the code that I have linked below. It helps me out a lot, and it'll help you out a lot if you use code CELLS at checkout for free shipping. Again, this is 50-state legal. That's our sponsors. Let's get back to it. First up, let's talk about ARs and their inherent strengths. They're very lightweight, they're very accurate, they have great controls. The Stenag mag has become a very popular magazine footprint across various platforms across the world, and the 5.56 round, aside from being incredibly common, is very lightweight, has a very flat trajectory compared to 7.62 by 39, and you can pick some pretty spicy loads to do some pretty heavy damage depending on what you're trying to do. And I know I said the controls are really good, but just the ability to drop the magazine out with your index finger and put it in without any major effort is a big win. The AK benefits from having a long stroke gas piston system, which can just power through anything. They are meant to fight in any condition, through any condition. This particular one is a Polish-made mini jack in 5.56. We'll get more on that later. It also has a K&S precision adjustable bolt, which means they're really good for suppression, and it's nice to have a folding stock. Whether you want to shoot with it collapsed or just have it more compact when you're moving around, having a folding stock is a nice benefit. It's not a deal breaker, but it's nice. So we understand that there are inherent benefits of ARs and AKs, and that having a combination of the two would be great. This isn't me saying that one platform is better than the other, though I do prefer the AR platform substantially. Part of that has to do with hands-on, but part of it has to do with it just being a more modernized platform. So you say, got it. Let's do something that combines the strengths of both, and you go out and you buy one of these, a Foxtrot mic, FM102 or an FM47 or a KS47 or a CMMG Mutant. And You say it's got rock and lock mags, but it looks more like an AR up top. It's got this cool lock back system that you can slap into place. Hybrid, except you did it wrong. And while I do like this weapon itself, and I do like the other ones, and I'm not trying to hate on them, these are more gimmicky compared to the AR-AK, and I'll tell you why. These are direct impingement. Most of them are. While that is soft shooting and pretty reliable, will not power through dirt and grime the same way that a long stroke gas piston system will. And while it does have the AR controls like the trigger and the safety, and it's compatible with AR grips, it is missing out on the amazing controls of dropping a magazine out. And while rock and lock mags do have a really solid lockup, under stress, they are just more difficult to get into place. So if you watch those videos from the Ukraine-Russian war, where some poor sap is getting chased by a drone and he's trying to reload his AK and he's fumbling, yeah, can you mess up a Stanag mag reload? Yes, you can. I have put a magazine in, fired one round, and watched the mag drop out. But as long as you're intentional, it's easier to get it into place. It's easier to release it. They're easier to change. And locking the bolt bag, it is fun. I have a good time running this gun. I'm not trying to hate on it, but I would not rely on it with my life if I was trying to do something quickly or efficiently. But that begs the question, why not just get a 5.56 AK like the Mini Jack? This one was provided by Fairmont Firearms, and they've done a lot of tasteful upgrades. They have the Novus Precision PDS-1. They have the side locking rail. They have a nice folding stock, an ALG trigger, which is criminally light, the Putnik up front, and then I believe I already mentioned the K&S Precision. So this thing is very soft shooting. It's very reliable. It's great suppressed, and it's very fun to look at. But it still has controls from the 1940s. And I'm sorry, this dust cover safety is still not as good or as fast as an AR. And I already went over why I don't like rock and lock mags. This one has an even tighter lockup, which is good, but I would not want to have to do this in a hurry if my life depended on it. At its core, the ARAK is built entirely around a long stroke gas piston system that has much more in common with an AK than an AR. It has an adjustable gas block up front here, and despite the fact that it does have a larger bolt mass than an AR, it has a very smooth recoil impulse, and it doesn't have this large reciprocating mass feel as you fire. This gun can fire very fast. I was not able to outrun the trigger despite all my training with Mantis. Big shout out to Mantis Systems and the Blackbeard. And it's a very, very smooth system, especially when you get it gassed in right. But even when I had it overgassed, it was still very pleasant to shoot and was just ripping through everything. The upper itself still resembles an AR, and it has AR accoutrement, like a Picatinny rail that runs the length of the upper, even though it's kind of a short handguard. This is a quad rail gang. Very cool. At the bottom here, I have an A3 Tactical aluminum grip. And on the side here, I have a Defense Distributors GL4 Pro laser light combo. This is an incredibly affordable laser light for its performance. These run about $300, but they perform way better. Lasers are very cool, and the downside of most of them is that they get very expensive, but not this little guy. I would definitely check this out at Defense Distributors. Big shout out to them. When they sent this thing to me and I opened it up, it had like scripture in it. That's great. If you are passionate about God, Christ is King, then you should be trying to represent him anywhere you can. They have a great product, and so they've earned the right to talk about their beliefs to me, and they happen to be the same as mine. On the bottom here, you'll notice 6 lugs that you can remove. The bottom of the lower drops out, and the barrel is actually held in place with like a squared off lug. And when this is removed, you can pull it out with the gas system and swap it out either with a shorter barrel. I believe they have a 12.5 or a different caliber. So they do make 30 cal barrels. They do make 30 cal barrels, so you can run 7.62 by 39. Up top, I do have a Rearden Plan B adapter. This is a single port brake with a quick attach for the BDE 7.62 by Primary Weapon Systems. This is a very lightweight 3D printed titanium suppressor that I love, and it ran fantastic suppressed. I think it needs to get a lot of attention for how good it is suppressed. And it wasn't too gassy either. Good gas management. On the side here, we have a fold-away non-reciprocating charging handle, which I really like. So you can just pull this out, get a really good purchase on it. It sticks out very far to clear any accessories that you might have on the rails. And that reveals down here, you'll notice a 3D printed piece here. You can actually remove this piece and switch the bolt to eject left or right. So if you're a lefty or a righty, you don't need a different skew to be able to run it on the side that you prefer, which is going to come in handy later because I am going to turn this into a bullpup or a bullflop. And my buddy David, who's a lefty, would want to shoot this, and he can when I switch it over. And then you'll just notice very nice machining. It's a very, substantial upper. It is pretty heavy, but it's very well made and it's very solid. And with the shorter rail and some of the mass back here, it's not too imbalanced. That is one nice thing about the AR, is that it does have really good balance, more rearward balance, not bullpup balance. Had to say bullpup. And with a lightweight stock like this Skelestock, the worry would be that, especially with a 16-inch barrel and a suppressor, that you have a lot of weight forward and it gets tiring to hold. It's not a lightweight gun, but it's not as bad as you would think it is. And then obviously, because it's got a self-contained recoil system in the upper, it can go with folding stocks. Like I said, A3 Tactical Skelestock. This has a little bit of a long pull compared to other guns that I like. And they even told me that when I ordered it from them. They're like, we'll send you this stock. What do you want? And I was like, I like this one. They're like, that's a long length of pull. And it was. So I should have just listened to them. And then it marries to an AR-15 lower. So we get Stenag mags, we get all the good controls, the mag release, the safety selector, AR-15 triggers, AR-15 grips. This thing really knocked it out of the park as far as getting the strengths of both platforms and putting them into one. And so the girl that says she's not like other girls actually turns out to be not like other girls. So what happened? Well, just like girls like that, they're kind of rare. And while I don't officially know the reason for this, and I do know that they are trying to ramp up production again on these because their marketing efforts increased. And I asked them, I was like, are you guys going to start producing these more? Because I noticed you're marketing them more. There's also been rumors that they're maybe working on a Gen 2. You didn't hear that from me. But when you look this thing over, it's very complicated machining. There's a lot of machining involved in this. And the biggest downfall of it is that it doesn't share a lot of parts with an AR or an AK. Yes, it has a mil-spec lower, but the upper itself shares almost no parts with an AR-15 or an AK. So everything has to be made bespoke. And bespoke is the enemy of ubiquity or commonality. So while you can go and buy all these different parts for ARs and AKs because everything is made to spec, this thing is a spec of its own. And I love it for that, but that probably means it takes a long time to make them. They're probably very difficult to make, and they're probably expensive to make, which would indicate why the price is what I'm about to put on the screen. And people aren't necessarily demanding this gun, so the demand is low, the cost is high. You have a recipe for an uncommon gun, and that makes me sad. At one point, I did have to have the upper replaced. It was, the bolt was colliding with some of the metal in the upper, in the monolithic upper, and it was shaving metal into the lower, and I was like, what the heck? And I could feel that it started running rough, which was a disappointment because it ran so good at first. So I sent it off to them. They had it for a couple months, and they're like, this is a unique problem. We'd like to hold on to this and just see what's going on so that we can implement it and make sure it doesn't happen anywhere else. It's like, hey, by all means, whatever helps. So they sent me a completely new upper and just kept my barrel on it, and which they probably swapped out very quick, very smart. And this thing has ran phenomenally, and it's just a cool gun that I look forward to running more. And if indeed they are working on a second generation, I have some suggestions, and they're probably ones that they already finalized, so it doesn't matter what I say anyway. As much as I love the quad rail, yeah, a modernized, free-floating M-LOK handguard would be nice, especially for accessory compatibility and just having more retail to work with. Real estate, not retail. I would also love it to be a little lighter. So, all these milled parts, this very monolithic upper, as cool as it is, does contribute to weight, and it does contribute to weight that's farther forward. While I do love the idea of a multi-caliber gun, I don't find it nearly as necessary. I don't live in a controlled state where I can only have like 3 guns. So I'm not like, oh, I'm going to buy one gun that I can run 3 different calibers on, or it can be configured to be all these different lengths. That's just not really a limitation for me, so it's not a desire. And this doesn't feel compromised in the fact that it has a swappable barrel, except for the fact that this is incredibly unique and not shared across other platforms. And so it probably takes more time to make, and it probably costs more money to make. So anyways, I really enjoyed talking about this with you, and I really enjoy making these videos, and I said I wasn't gonna overdo it, and I did. Here we are. So go out and look for one of these. If they come in stock, I highly recommend them. And I wouldn't wait for a Generation 2 because who knows if that'll ever happen. Just get this if you can. pair it to your favorite lower, and have a blast. All right, so thanks for watching, and I guess we'll say something about the Trump assassination. Wow. I mean, if there was ever a time to not put your faith in government, it's now, because boy, were they incompetent. I know there's sayings that say don't attribute malice to what can be explained as incompetence, but there's also a saying that says extreme incompetence is indistinguishable from malice. That's why you get a manslaughter charge when you drink and drive and kill another person. Put your faith, put your fear, not in things that can kill your body, but things that can kill your body and your soul. So make sure that you are imparting your values on people, whether it's your children and you're raising them right with discipline, because if you don't discipline your kids, they'll turn out awful. If you have a spouse, treat your spouse incredibly well. Serve them and lead your spouse in the best way possible so that your house is a house that is like a well-run ship, a well-oiled engine. And nowadays, we're this civilization that's like, there is no God, we're animals, and yet we believe in some structure that believes that we're all created equally. If we're animals, everybody should just be looking out for themselves, survival of the fittest. And then we're also this generation that's just kind of like keeps to themselves. I'll go on social media and complain, boomers, am I right? And then they're like, oh, millennials, am I right? When really we should be coming together and sharing information and building each other up. Iron sharpens iron. That's all I got to say. Thanks for watching. I will have another video very soon. I filmed a Q100S video, or at least the range time for it, and then I'll shoot something like this very soon so that there aren't these big gaps. I keep saying I'm not going to make a big video, and then green screen gets involved, and I'm like, Dune, and yeah, that was a mistake. But I loved it. It was fun. You got to admit, it was pretty fun. All right, thanks for watching.